Nice way to get your hands dirty, literally, and also have something to show after it's all over. So, regarding the workshops and everything, we have Lauran Brown, who's going to be talking about this and letting you know what to expect and what some of the pleasantries and surprises that were on board. Okay, Lauran.
Who is also our ECI members present coordinator.
Yes, and I've been thus far able to avoid speaking, coordinating, so I guess it's finally come around to me that it's my turn to talk about something. And we've been working on the workshop and
Excuse me, there's some audio coming from somewhere?
I hear some music playing. I don't know.
Sure. Let me see if I can find out what's happening with that.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
DVD player.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah.
So this has been like a topic that a lot of people have been interested in, and we started talking about it during last couple of board meetings, just the progress, and it always went on further than we needed it to. So I think that it's good to be able to do this presentation for you guys, just so you know how it's going. This is basically it's my show and tell because we built this in my backyard, and with the help of some of the board members, we wanted to do like a beta version of the workshop before we actually open it up to and subject the public to it, basically. So, you know, some people had, you know, you can actually advance the slide. So, like, people are familiar with the concept of the Horno, and probably you've seen them if you've traveled, or you've seen them. I think there's one at one of the missions here, if I'm not mistaken. And so there are some local cultural ties to it. It hasn't been, you know, those were probably Adobe or Cobb, not compressed earth block. So the one that we did was compressed earth block, so it's a little bit different. I think it's pretty well known that, you know, they're common in New Mexico to find the Hornos at the pueblos, and throughout they were used by both like the Spanish settlers and also the natives. And these are from the Taos Pueblo, and I used to live in Taos, and so I had, you know, I saw those things, and I always thought it was so cool that people had ovens in their backyard that they could bake with. You can advance it. I also lived in Quebec, and I lived in the city, so I didn't get to see these, but there's a really cool free ebook download that if you want to learn about the ovens, earthen ovens of Quebec. So, you know, these kind of two very different North American places that I live both have these in common. It's like, sweet, I finally get to have my own. A friend recommended this book as a good place to start, and it's a really cool book, so I just wanted to share that with you also. Does not talk about, it wasn't exactly pertinent because it doesn't talk about compressed earth blocks, it's talking again about using Adobe or Cobb, but it's a good survey, well illustrated, very digestible book, and there is one idea that we got from it, so if you click. So that'll come in later, we'll talk about that, but.
You use a lot of those after you've been working.
Exactly, yeah. So they were, we actually used them as insulation to line the bottom of the oven, so. And we had a fun conversation about, I forget exactly what we called it, but the gentrified Topo Chico bottles in the oven or something like that. So you can continue on here. So, you know, man plans, woman plans, what's that phrase? And then God says, whatever, spirit plans, will do something else. But I did start by actually drawing something up. Well, that's what it is. Man plans, God laughs, right? So it came out pretty similar to this, but after drawing this, I never actually went back and looked at the plan. But I had been dreaming of something spherical, and just, you know, harkening back to like what I was familiar from New Mexico. But after, you know, trying to consider using CEVs, it wasn't going to be the easiest thing to do. It's going to require a lot of cutting, and so you can go on to the next slide there. So we decided, you know, that was the talk amongst us as a group, the board members was, you know, making an arch and what kind of arch and how we're gonna do it. And in the meantime, we got started on the foundation, which by far was the easiest part of the whole thing. You can just flip it through. And you can just, and we didn't use any, I just showed that picture because we decided not to use any rebar in it, and then got the foundation that was super quick and easy. And so again, considerations for the workshop, you can be thinking of this as you go through, but you know, whoever you build these ornaments for, we already have to have the foundation in place before we get there. So it's some pre-planning that's required for the workshop. Okay, then step 2, build the orno. Just kidding, that doesn't happen like that. So, what actually has to happen, because we're using compressor blocks and you cannot buy them at Home Depot, is you have to make the blocks. So, and this is the hardest step. Making the blocks requires procuring the materials, so you have to know what materials to procure. Luckily, I had a good recommendation from Ron on a material that he and Christine had been using for their home. Mixing the materials. Once you procure the materials, the next hardest thing, well, the hardest part of the making the blocks is mixing the materials. If you can find a soil mix that's already to your satisfaction, you get to eliminate part of that. And so that's why we ended up using this soil mix, although we still had to mix in our stabilizer. And we tried a cement mixer, we tried a mortar mixer just to see comparisons of the two. And then after that, once we got it, we knew what we were doing with mixing, then we got to feed it to the machine, and then the machine fed us blocks. But that was also a trial and error process, because depending on what mix you're using, you have to tweak the machine to compress it how you want it. This is also a community effort, so we got to use this machine, we got to use this beautiful site to construct on. You can keep looking. And so the owner of the site, this is just a thank you slide to these people who basically donated to us and allowed us to do it. But,
So this is a private home?
That's a private home under construction, and Jim Pollock is the builder of that project, and the owner is Carson Dickey, and then Jim was borrowing / babysitting Albert Tapia's machine.
Right.
And so Albert lent us the machine to use for the block making. Jim lent us, his knowledge in the work site, while he was there, and Carson was compliant as well with, he's very supportive of earthy construction, so he's like, yeah, of course, you can do that. We just want to say thank you. This kind of, especially when you can't go buy it at Home Depot, and you have to make your own construction materials, you gotta consider you need help, and it's, I think that's, it's a community endeavor at that point, for whoever's involved. So, we did a jar test on the clay, and here it looks like, I really don't know where the clay becomes a silt. There is kind of like a line right here. From the testing that Ron and Christine did, I think they got 14 to 18% clay content. It almost looks like more there. However, how I found that it behaved, it compared to other things that I had worked with, it felt like a lot less clay. And that just, that plus the combination of one of the gauges being broken on the machine made it really hard to know what we were getting out. And so we ended up making a lot of extra blocks just to be safe. And then after you make your blocks, you still have to transport them. You still have to get them to the site. So it's not just a material that at this point you can buy off the shelf and get delivered. Then finally step 4, get to build it. So,
what did you use for mortar?
we used the same material that we used in the blocks, and we mixed it with lime.
Okay.
And we eventually did add, for the foundation of the orno, we did add, we didn't add extra sand, but as we got to actually building the arch for the oven, then we added sand to the mix to increase the sand content of it. And this is just showing mixing the lime, mixing the mortar. And then it's just some progress of the construction of the base. And then I unfortunately didn't get any pictures of the Topo Chico bottles, although they're light. But they're right under this layer, so our idea for the insulation inspired by that book I showed earlier, was to, and lay the Topo Chico, lay a bed of sand down and then lay the Topo Chicos in a bed of perlite beads, and that's what we decided to use for insulation. The more insulation you have around the oven, the better it's gonna perform. And right now we for sure wanted to make sure we got some insulation below it. We don't have any plans yet for how to insulate the exterior, but this is where we are. And then these are fire bricks that you want to use for the oven surface, cooking surface.
Did you make those too?
No, those bought, yeah. You can buy those at like any, those are off the shelf products. You can buy those at like any masonry supplier, or even like a Home Depot. You might have to order them, but they have them. And then, we decided there's different ways of, constructing the arch. Especially like with the adobe, there's some other things that are more common, like, you just make a form out of sand and then you moist enough that it'll kind of stick together, and then you can scoop the sand out when you're done building. Saw a video where somebody actually used a lobster trap that was like it was, basically the same shape. I thought that was pretty cool. And then if it's something that stays in place, you can always burn it out of the oven. We made ours so that you could just like deconstruct it and like pull it out.
So somebody who had a barrel, but one of those barrels that made out of cardboard,
Mm-hmm.
you see?
Uh-uh.
Well, it's cardboard, and it's just like a 50-gallon jar.
Oh, that would
And
be
you
cool.
put it there, and then you burn it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a sonotube.
Yeah, it's not too.
Oh, a sonotube, yeah,
Would work.
yeah, that would work too. And then, we filled in, so we built the arch or the vault, and then we filled in the back wall of it, and then we left a little hole, for a vent there that we can fit a little piece of fire brick into to control the airflow through it.
Beautiful.
And then, this might be step 5, because I already had step 4 up there, but step 5, we get to plaster coat it. So we did a first coat of plaster so far, lime plaster, which was again, 3-to-1 sand to lime. And then, we attempted to do a hurl coat, where you actually throw the lime at the substrate, and did that for the whole top, and then, you can see it gets everywhere, because you're not just throwing it at one wall surface, you're throwing it at like a small 3D object, so it got everywhere, but it was super fun. And then, we eventually just decided to paint on the bottom, and it gave it, so you can actually tell the texture difference, and we're gonna add some more coats to that and maybe decorate it on top, but that's what we ended up with for the oven.
Wow.
How do you go
Oh.
on it?
Where's the tortilla go?
Well, so again, somebody asked if we cooked pizza yet, we didn't cook pizza yet, I just said, oh, we needed some tortillas. We just I just put it right there, just scoot the fire over. So the idea though for cooking is that you need a door, because it's an oven, and you make the fire in the oven, and you make that fire a couple hours before you actually plan to cook, so it takes pre-planning. After you've adequately heated the oven to whatever temperature you need, then you scoop all of the ash, either push it to the side or scoop it out, and then you just cook with the heat, the residual heat that's now stored in that material. You put the door on and close it while you're doing it, and that also helps keep the steam in. So that, and the steam is part of the cooking process that, helps make your pizzas crispy or your bread crust crispy, that kind of thing. That's the
Is there a burn-in period when you have to kind of vitrify the materials to off-gas any residuals that are in there?
I don't know, I was even wondering, because people don't typically have Portland cement in their ovens, and we have Portland cement in our blocks for the stabilizer, so just, somewhere between 5 and maybe 10%, like, we were trying to be, scientific with our shovels about it, so I don't know exactly we were shooting for 7% Portland, but, usually when these ovens are tried and true, but I think using CEVs of Portland isn't tried and true, so I don't know exactly if that would have any effect, or, if anything's if the heat's gonna do anything. I don't think, though, that technically it gets hot enough to vitrify clay.
No, you won't go with the cellulose fire, you won't get above about 700-800 C.
But
So
it would
you're gonna
create,
make a lot higher fire.
it would create like an
Yeah.
ash layer on top of the brick.
It probably does that.
The problem is gonna be the moisture, if it goes to steam, if it flashes, you'll get popping of this. That's, the moisture is the problem.
Yeah, oh, okay.
But when we did the fire test, at Intertech, that was the big worry, was that the blocks, the water, because the wall was still wet, you would still feel it off gassing. You couldn't, some of the wall was cool, but you couldn't, some of the, moisture would find a way out and make a wet spot on the wall, and you couldn't touch that, that was boiling hot. So that, the moisture is the problem. If you go, if you raise your temperature too fast, or if you do that, there's frost on the top of the thing.
Yeah.
Start a fire.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting because you're supposed to have moisture and cook with, so.
Well, some moisture, there's some moisture in the brick.
Oh, already in the box, okay, that still needs to cure out.
Yeah, so keeping the moisture, heating it up slowly, and then releasing moisture.
Yeah, people have talked about seasoning the oven, so you know, you have to heat it a couple times before you actually get a good product out of it, and either that's actually doing something in the oven, or it's just giving practice to people who are cooking, maybe both seasoning yourself.
Does, that raises the question, since you're gonna have it open on one side, except you're gonna install doors, does that mean that ambient moisture or humidity may reintroduce moisture into the block? Or does, firing, using as an seal it off at that surface?
I don't think it would seal it off, but I don't know how much it would actually penetrate. But thinking about the moisture popping being an issue, I haven't thought about it yet, so what do you think?
Well, just put it in the fire and let it slowly heat up,
Yeah,
is the thing. After, if you haven't done it for a while and it's springtime and it's real wet outside, probably not. Or put more coats of plaster on the top of the things, which sets water.
well, one thing we also, read to do is to actually soak, the door is made out of wood, and that you actually soak the door in water before you plug the hole with it, so that you have a source of moisture.
Yeah, well, you won't, you'll cook, you gotta get some moisture.
Yeah,
It's the block, too quick, heating them up too quickly is the problem.
yeah.
Looks like that picture from Quebec had a shelter over the top of it.
It did.
It snows in Quebec.
Yeah, you
It's
have
so-
no
it's so-
system, right?
I think it's just a matter of, how much maintenance you wanna do, so a lot of pizza ovens, even that and having shade around it, but a lot of pizza ovens, even like the brick ones, people will actually build a lean-to or something over them, and they talk about, in that book too, even talks about people building lean-tos over their ovens, so I think it's pretty common to do that. If our plaster holds up decently well, I'd rather just leave it like it is.
Did you cook the inside with anything?
No.
Okay, so it's just bare block of that.
And then lessons learned, and I already spoke about some of these, but, material making is the biggest barrier to urban construction as far as like construction progress or progress of the construction sequence. Pretty much anything else we build with, we get to just buy it already made, and then we build with it, and in this case, it's not so easy to do, so that's the biggest holdup, or, the link in the chain that needs to be fixed, and that was just the experience with the small thing, but that's definitely scalable, and like, if you're doing this commonly, I'm sure you get used to knowing where to get for your materials, but what if you move to a different place to do a project, then you have to figure out because these are heavy materials to move, and then where do you set up this very large operation, so not anything new that we haven't already discussed or thought about, but just in general, this is like a small scale version of any kind of earthly project that has the same steps in that matter. And, minimizing your mixing and material handling helps a lot with that, saving time and effort. And then just it's kind of interesting to compare using a mortar mixer versus a cement mixer. I think technically the mortar mixer should work better, but the cement mixer did completely fine for our use.
Yeah.
And, clay content, what's going into your blocks in general, like solar content. Remember the head joints, so I didn't, everything else that I calculated out to the inch, I did not think about the head, I thought about the bed joints, I didn't think about the head joints. And so then it was like, oh wait, you know, in the end, with the Horno, it doesn't really change anything, but the bigger a project gets, the more it grows, because you have to add that head joint.
Could you explain that term?
Oh yeah, so these are the bed joints, or the blocks laying in bed, and then these are the head joints between each block.
The space for the mortar.
So depending on like the thickness that you want this to be, which is also related to, you know, the viscosity of the mortar and all that, then that can grow your project.
Got a question?
Look, Lauren, when you're building your vault there, the series of arches that you built, is there a different shape for the keystone?
No, but what happened was we didn't wanna shape the blocks just because we were trying to be efficient and not have to do any kind of cutting on the blocks. We did cut blocks either long ways or short ways, just in half. And so on either side of the, just cause we wanted a central keystone, on either side of it, we have two skinny half blocks.
Where are the bottles, if you're incapable of where the bottles?
Repeat the question, please.
The bottles are right underneath this, so they're in here, under the fire.
There's this one. My son-in-law in Argentina, he had broken bottles.
Yeah,
And they break a lot of crushed bottles and one to recycling. And I bet you tumble them so that they're not sharp, you can pick them up.
yeah.
I was thinking you could use that, couldn't you?
You probably would get some value out of that, but I guess my idea was just to use the bottles as they were, and that way the air in the bottle's trapped in there,
Oh,
and that's part of the insulation. And then the perlite is just around it, which has some R value, I don't know what actually, off the top of my head. So there's a lot of options, it just has to be something that could take the heat. I don't know how much heat's gonna shut that direction, but you don't wanna use something that's gonna melt. Yeah, but you can use like mineral wool, but then mineral wool would compress with all the weights, and then you can't really use mineral wool. So you just need something that,
why could I use all that crushed glass, but they don't tell me if you should use it.
oh, you could use it to decorate your Horno,
I guess.
perhaps.
Do you know if they use the whole bottle?
I don't think so, but I don't think it would hurt you, but I don't think it would. And the cost for this whole thing was $650, which is materials, any tools that we already have that we needed to buy. And then I put in a cost for transport, because we went back and forth to Fredericksburg a lot just to pick up blocks. And then, because that's where the site was, where we made them. And then, so that included our learning curve, because sometimes we bought something that we didn't need, or had to make extra blocks, that kind of thing. And then, but it doesn't include any machine rentals or labor costs at all. So that's just like, that, I don't know what idea that gives you, but that's just to kind of give you some idea. And then, yeah, I track those costs too, to help us kind of like with that development for the workshop. The workshop's gonna have more costs, cause there's a lot of other things we're gonna have to provide for a workshop for the participants. And that's why we're also looking for, well, we want it to be something that we can raise funds off of, but also an activity that can be sponsored, that we can have community partnerships with, that sort of thing.
How many people were involved in the construction of this, and how does that translate into a workshop experience?
Good question. So Horno is not very big, and the ones after this, we also realized we're not gonna do one this big for the workshop. It doesn't need to be that big, and it would be more efficient and quicker
So
if
the
we made it
question,
smaller.
the answer to how many people did you use for this construction, and how long did it take?
Well, a number, I mean, we used our whole board plus any of their partners who showed up, so that like maybe 10 people around that, like, or no, 8 people maybe that participated at different phases, but not everybody was always there at one time. And I mean, you can do it with, you need 2 people, but you can do it with, if 2 people know what they're doing, it only takes 2 people to do it. It's more, it's just, you wanna have a workshop, what's the right number so that everybody can be doing something and not feel like, what am I doing, paying for this workshop and I can't even get in there because this thing's this big.
Yeah, the nice thing about it is that there's like 2 or 3 tasks going on. And so you can rotate
And
people.
rotate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you always have 1 or 2 persons over there that just point and saying, oh, you ought to do this, you ought to do this. And
Then you got that lazy guy just doing all the drawings on the side about what we're doing wrong. Remember that dude?
There's that
Who's
guy.
that guy? Oh, yeah, that guy, yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it take before you?
Somebody has.
That was a
Oh, right
question.
away.
Lauran, there was a question in the back.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't it be more cost effective just to do a cob?
It would be.
And if you're gonna do a workshop, would it be more convenient just to do the cob for everybody?
So I actually,
That's
for
what we
this,
wanna get our hands dirty.
well, you
Yeah.
personally, but other people want the CEB. So so what I was thinking originally was I wanted to do the base out of CEBs, and then I wanted that spherical top, so I wanted to do the top out of cob. But through discussion amongst our group, who we were doing practice with, you know, we also had talked about getting more experience with CEBs.
Right.
And that is a more viable material as far as scaling up for buildings. Cob is fine on a small scale, but on a larger scale, something that can be standardized, CEBs are more viable. This is not a building that anybody's gonna live in besides maybe like a cat on occasion. I guess the idea was to get everybody exposed to CEBs, you know, get them familiar with it and that kind of thing. I totally promote building an oven with cob, and that book is a really great resource for doing that. And he has stories in there about people's ovens costing $20 because they did it with the materials out of their backyard or their backyard plus their neighbor's junk pile or whatever. So
I just have a question about compressors. What, do you have to use cement in it to make it strong enough?
you don't have to use cement. As an alternative to cement, you could use lime to stabilize. Or as an alternative to either of those, you could not stabilize, but then you just take your chances that it's gonna just melt away if you don't maintain it.
Right.
And one of the reasons we were using cement is because that's what we're planning to do on another workshop project that we're working on for Eco Centro. So we felt it would be good to get practice with those particular blocks and mix design.
We've been hearing so much about cement and how, the greenhouse gases that come from it.
Yeah, well, we do try to be careful about how much we put in.
There's also gonna be the first public Horno workshop going to be at Eco Centro?
That's what, I think we need to firm that up with Eco Centro, but I think that's what we're planning on.
That's our plan.
And what are we thinking about doing?
Who's on the planning committee?
I was talking to Meredith about that yesterday, and yeah, she'd like to see that, the first one in her place.
That'd be awesome.
So what's an extension to the right that you put wood in the bottom of it, you put your bread and tools on top of it?
Precisely. Originally, my intention was for that to be like an open grill, and then you would have a grate that slides in, but now I think we might put a lid on it and then just have that be like storage, and then exactly like you said, just have more of a work surface. Or maybe we'll put a bench in there and we'll have a little bench.
Yeah, well, to take
Once that you
sure you have the fire.
So the way the oven is working is you make a fire at that level, and then you take out the ash, and then you put something to bake it.
This being Texas, could you do an offset smoker kind of?
Probably could.
Horno for barbecue.
Yeah.
Then you'd really get some popularity.
It's time to adapt. Logan brought in some interesting books here. One of the illustrations is of Adobe Horno or Indian oven, and they're using Adobes.
Cool.
It's a spherical dome.
Yes. Yeah, the Adobes are a lot easier to cut than the CVs.
Do they have a
the Adobe PowerPoint.
Do we have a workshop coming up to build one here soon? Is there a site and a time please?
So Steven just mentioned that it, Meredith,
Yeah.
Miller.
Yeah, the first one that's gonna be open to public is gonna be at Eco Centro. But have we decided whether or not to do a second test one? Because
Yeah.
the problems that we had with this, we wanted to do another.
Well, I guess it's up to discussion for whoever's on the planning committee. I think there could be beta participants, you know, beta members of the public who could give us feedback about it.
But talking to Meredith yesterday, she said it would be fun maybe, early next year to go ahead and do the
Yeah.
Horno. And then maybe 6 weeks later, if possible, start the, garage.
Or so wait till like January.
January, February for Horno, and then, late March, April to start the, garage and hall.
Yeah.
And those are all gonna be out of, Brick?
And there definitely will be workshops on the building.
Yeah, we can video it and put it on our website.
Yep.
Facebook. And by the way, this, as a PDF would make a great thing to include with HEB presentation. You know, because it'd be really impressive. We're looking.
We
at
mentioned
going
them in the letter too.
Yeah, we mentioned we're gonna go
In the
funding
content.
from HEB and others, and, so, yeah, this is very impressive.
You know, take some more pictures and have some HEB branded items on
Yeah,
them.
right.
Oh yeah, like here's the flower that I bought, HEB.
So make sure you have HEB water.
Yeah. They sell cocoa.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that lighter's from HEB.
There you go.
That's a start.
You're in.
Well, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, it really
Amazing
is,
design.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
Well, bravo.
Thank you, Lauran.
Exciting.
Okay, folks, thank you for coming. Next month, we're going to be, freshly back from our big trip to USA in Santa Fe. And we'll have a report about that, but, we'll have another member presents. Members present.
Oh, look.
And,
Oh, that's great.
That's cute.
and so we'll see you next month, the first Tuesday, as always. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
You know, you have-
Did you all